Hello, welcome into Varsity Sports Live. Tom Neiman along with Jason and Dara. Jody Norstead hanging out in West Fargo. We'll get to him here in a little bit. If you were a fan out there watching tonight, good for you, because that had to be tough. If you were playing, it might not have been that bad, but
those fans, I tell you what.
If you were a fan that sat through a game tonight, good on you.
Good on you, and hopefully you're warmed up right now and ready for an hour of high school football highlights across South Dakota and parts of North Dakota.
Yeah, for the most part, South Dakota got most of the games in tonight. Let's go to the scoreboard in South Dakota to begin with. And one game that did get postponed was out in Rapid City. Central and Roosevelt are going to play on Monday. That game will be Monday evening at 6 o'clock with the Rough Riders and the Cobblers in Rapid City. Sioux Falls-Lincoln wins its fifth in a row. The Patriots are 6-1 now with a tight win over Harrisburg tonight at Howard Wood Field in Sioux Falls. Highlights coming up in a couple of minutes. Brandon Valley at home knocks off Washington 28-7, so the Lynx get to 5-2 on the season. Highlights of that one coming up as well. O'Gorman got out to a 33-0 lead on Watertown. A couple of Tate Wishart touchdown runs early. Watertown came back with Brandon Smith with a touchdown run and a touchdown pass, but the Knights are 5-2 after winning Watertown tonight. Stevens and Aberdeen Central in Aberdeen. That game is postponed until Saturday. They're going to play it at 6:30 after the Northern State game up there at 2:30. So a couple of games in Aberdeen, including Rapid City Stevens and Aberdeen Central on Saturday in Aberdeen. Pierre keeps rolling. Governors scored in all kinds of weird ways again tonight with Garrett Stout and McGuire Rasky. We'll take a little peek at that one coming up in a little bit as Pierre gets to 7-0. Sturgis and Mitchell will play on Saturday in Mitchell. That's a 6 o'clock game between the Colonels and the Scoopers on Saturday. Huron goes to Yankton and gets a 15-12 win, a couple of Kobe Bush touchdowns, and the Tigers with a late defensive stand as they win at 15-12. Huron gets to 4-3. St. Thomas More has now beaten Douglas, Sturgis, and Spearfish from 11AA. St. Thomas More 42-6 tonight. St. Thomas More is 6-1 in 11B. Belfouche is now 3-3 with a win over Spearfish tonight, 48-7. T area shuts out Sioux Falls Christian, Jandy.
Their defense, I tell you what, they show up week in, week out, and today, I mean, that's dominating.
They held Christian to 26 yards in the second half. Braden Thompson had 4 touchdowns for T area, and they rolled to 6-1 with that win over Sioux Falls Christian tonight. Del Rapids is 7-0. They've got games against West Central and T still coming up for Del Rapids as they try to run the table. 7-0 right now, though, for the Warriors. Lennox beats Dakota Valley. We checked this score about 10 times, but it is right. Lennox is 3-4 now. Dakota Valley drops to 4-3.
They have not played a complete game yet this year. Lennox hasn't, but tonight, I mean, they changed that script.
Our live game here on Midco Sports Network. Madison knocks off West Central 25-12. We will have some highlights of that one coming up as well. Canton with another shutout, 49-0 tonight on the road at Tri-Valley. We'll take a look at that one as well as this game in Tyndall as Canastota Freeman, the defending champions in 9A. They knock off Bonham, the defending champions in 9AA. 32-8 the final there as Canastota Freeman goes to 7-0. Viborg Hurley is 7-0 as well. 38-0 tonight over Hanson. Fulton and Sully Buttes, this game postponed until Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock out in Oneida. Colman-Egan 7-0 in 9B. 44-26 tonight over Del Rapids St. Mary's. Nate Jolly 5 touchdowns for Colman-Egan, and we'll have some highlights of that one coming up as well. In North Dakota, these games were played on Thursday night because of all the weather coming through in North Dakota. Shanley gets to 6-0, win over Grand Forks Red River 10-0. It was West Fargo Cheyenne getting to 6-1 with a shutout of Grand Forks Central. Jody's got some highlights of those coming up here in just a second. Fargo Davies in a tight one over West Fargo. Davies is 6-1 now, and Fargo South gets to 5-2 with a win over North 14-6. And Jody's got highlights of all those games coming up. Lots of games postponed, though, in North Dakota until Monday. Bismarck Century and Jamestown will play Monday at 5 o'clock. Minot and Bismarck will play Monday at 7 o'clock. Dickinson and Williston did play tonight. The Midgets get the Coyotes 19-14. Bismarck Legacy and Mandan will play Monday at 6 o'clock in Bismarck as well. Other games in the other classes, number 1 Hillsborough Central Valley, that game postponed. Devils Lake and Valley City postponed as well. And I'm not sure if these games are Saturday or Monday, but they are coming up as well. Just postponed, not canceled. Beulah, St. Mary's, Lisbon, Langdon, Edmore, Munich, number 1 in Class A. All those games postponed to a later date. Bishop Ryan did play tonight, 39-14 over the Lacs-Burlington. Bishop Ryan is 7-1. Velva is 7-0 as they beat Nedrose tonight, 42-14. Mohall-Lansford-Sherwood gets to 5-2, 16-6 tonight over Surrey. And then Cavaliers postponed, as well as a couple other games in 9-man football in North Dakota. And Jody might have some more insight on that as we go to West Fargo and Jody Norstead. And it's been an adventure in the last couple of days. Hi, Jody.
Yeah, PPD, what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
And my voice is shot, so that makes it even better.
I think it sounds better. I think it's nice, rich.
Raspy. Like
raspy, yeah. Keep doing that, whatever you're doing.
Whatever I'm drinking, right?
Take it away.
Well, as you mentioned, postponements across the state. We're going to have a ton of games being made up on Monday and Tuesday, but many EDC teams had already moved up their games to Thursday because the 3A schools are playing Wednesday next week, but they were moving times up, so we had a venue change. It was interesting, but there was also a lot on the line with Davies at 4-0 and a trio of teams at 3-1 in EDC play, including the Eagles' opponent, West Fargo. For the second time this season, Davies had to move its home game to Shanley's turf because of field conditions. Visiting West Fargo, still searching for its first road win of the year. Early second quarter, Eagles facing a 3rd and short in the red zone. Jack Carlson, this is a tough guy to run. The 6'1", 185-pound senior carries half the Packers' defense into the end zone, his 4th touchdown of the year. Davies up 8-zip. West Fargo answers. Dustin Mertz, 4-yard touchdown. It's all tied up after the 2-pointer. Davies goes back in front on another Carlson run, but back come the Pack. Mertz to Carter Barroncott. The stiff arm. Barroncott's only catch goes 23 yards to the pylon for 6. Failed 2-pointer, so we're knotted at 14. How about another throw? Wet ball? Who cares? Reed Hardeness floats it to future Bison Ty Satter. That's a 35-yard touchdown with 30 seconds left before halftime. It's 20-14 Eagles at the break. Satter with 5 TD catches on the year. Packers made a change at QB. Sam Fredericks comes in to start the 3rd, and it's the second safety for the Eagles. 22-14 for Davies. Move ahead to late 3rd now. Mertz back at quarterback facing 4th and 19, and check out this run. Mertz runs all around the world. They get 25 yards and a touchdown. Packers trim the lead to 2. Another huge momentum swing. With 8 minutes to play, Carlson on the run gets crushed by Marcus Scully. Loose ball. Packers recover. Great field position, too. All it takes is one play for Jay Gibson's team. Joel McIntosh runs toward the sideline, cuts it up, shakes off a few tacklers for the go-ahead score. West Fargo finally has its first lead, 26-22 with 7:15 left. After a quick 3-and-out, Mertz and the offense back out there, but this ball is tipped and intercepted by Truman Weirmeyer. They finally cut off some Packer momentum. The offense marches down for Davies. Reed Hartness, with the top dual threat QBs in the state, scores on the run. Davies up 30-26 after the 2-pointer with just over 3 to play. The Davies defense goes on to seal up a 6th straight win for the Eagles. Here's the knockdown at the end. They stay atop the EDC standings after a very stiff test against the Packers on Thursday night. 30-26. West Fargo is going to be tough down the stretch, but how about that grittiness by Davies? We caught up with the running back, Jack Carlson, after the win.
Things weren't going well coming out of the half, and our line just played great in that last drive, and we got it in there. We knew that we were going to have to run the ball, and we did a great job doing it at the beginning of the game, and then we slowed down, but we got it done at the end.
Well, the Shanley Deacons head to Grand Forks to face the Rough Riders in a crucial EDC matchup. Halfway through the first quarter, Cooper Mattern drops back, but he's going to get sacked by Jaden Rems. Big play for the Riders in front of the home crowd. A few plays later, the Deacons get the yards back with a huge run by Carter Coleman. He's been really good the last couple of weeks. Takes it 55 yards and into the red zone, just meandering through the defense. Fans, well, they were trying to stay dry at Cushman, which was pretty much impossible. but even the weather can't phase one of the top kickers in the state. Emmett Kenny knocks in a 25-yard field goal, gives the Deacons a 3-point advantage late in the first. To the second, Parker Monet go to the end zone, but it's picked off by Talon Hoffer for a touchback. Rough Riders trail 3-0 going into the half. Move to the end of the third. Mattern decides to keep it himself, and yeah, the weather changed a little bit more white stuff out there. He picks up 25 on the ground on the slippery snow, and now to the fourth quarter. Mattern and the Deacons put the nail in the coffin. QB sneak for the score. It wasn't pretty, but on nights like this, they don't have to be. 10-0 is the finals. The Deacons pull off the road win in Grand Forks to move to 6-1.
Yeah, it was crazy, man. You know, it doesn't matter the atmosphere, the environment. We always play our brand of football. And, you know, it was just fun to be able to play in that type of environment, like you said, in that game. And it was just great to get a W. Obviously, you're not going to be able to throw the ball like you want to, like you would when it's nice outside. So we really put emphasis on our run game this week in practice. And I feel like we adapted, and it was good in this game tonight.
Well, here's a nice visual of the rain dripping down. This is Cheyenne hosting Grand Forks Central. The game's first score comes with 34 seconds left in the first. As Cheyenne's Zach Rogers gonna punch it in up the middle. Mustangs up 8-0. Then halfway through the second, Colby Angelis gonna play some bully ball here. This is like when you're playing out in the backyard and you're shoving your buddies down. How about a stiff arm, get you out of my way, then another right into your living room. Excuse me, Angelis into the end zone, 16-0 Cheyenne. We have a few loyal fans who brave the weather. With just a few ticks left on the clock before the half, Rika Penny was in. Mustangs up 22-0 at the break. If it ain't broke, why fix it? That was the case for the Mustangs. Penny, another touchdown. Mustangs up 30-zip. Cheyenne still isn't done pounding the rock. This time it's Angelis getting the handoff. Look at all the guys polling for Cheyenne. So many quick offensive linemen. They do a nice job of blocking. 36-0 Cheyenne. The Mustangs have no trouble. They win 44-0 and absolutely blitz Grand Forks Central. Good bounce back win for the Mustangs after losing to Cheyenne a week ago. They get Davies next week. North visiting South on a cold, rainy Thursday. Bruins came out leaning heavily on the running game, taking 8 minutes off the clock on their opening possession. Sibumana Enoch, or this is Danny Lahai running down, and then Sibumana Enoch turns it into points. It's a 6-0 lead for South. And look to keep the momentum going on defense. John Farr, we profiled him and the rest of the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 for the Bruins earlier this season. He gets the pick on Danny Boutain. North gets the ball right back, though. Blaine Anderson takes the pitch right away from Bokar Fula. Not fooling anyone. Nothing would develop off the turnover. North would start the second half with a miscue of their own. Boutain and Anderson cannot make the exchange. It's turnover, turnover, turnover. South gives it right back. Kessel and Leslie not connecting, and the punter. Oh man, it is an absolute nightmare for these guys. I don't know what's worse, my throat or the turnovers right now. North looked to make it interesting though as they finally found their run game later here. This is Peyton Kessel getting into the end zone for a touchdown. So that was a big moment for them, 14-0. But then Peyton Fisher providing a little bit of spark for this Fargo North offense. Fisher's heading to UND next year. Spartans are going to finish this drive too. He doesn't get into the end zone, but Boutain does, calling his own number, punching the ball in, makes it 14-6. But here's arguably the play of the game. It's a punt. Enoch pins North deep with a time running out. The Spartans did convert on 1 4th down on their next possession, but South ends it on the next 4th down to seal it up. The 14-6 win as they knock this one away. A second straight win for South with the ground game leading the way. Enoch, 90 yards and 2 TDs.
My offensive line are great. I just got to keep trusting them, stay behind them, and just follow them. They're going to lead me. The first one, I just went low and got in the end zone. We can play football anytime, any day. It don't matter conditions. We just had to fight the bad weather. We just had to fight the slippery balls. And we just faced some adversity towards the second half, but we faced it pretty well.
So all those games were played Thursday. How about some games that were played tonight? Bishop Ryan receiving votes in the latest Class A poll, hosting the Lacs-Burlington. Lions swarmed DLB's Caleb Riss. Purple and Gold keeping their 6-0 lead. Lions ran a lot of Wildcat with Logan Merck because of the windy night. Here he gets all the way down to the 1. Coach Coleman gives them a chance to sneak it in for 6. Here he is, Merck, behind that offensive line. Gets a touchdown for the Purple. Bishop Ryan hangs up 39 points tonight to freeze the Lakers. Take a look at the scoreboard. The Lions should be a force in the playoffs in a couple of weeks. Look out for that group. 7-1 now. Velva is the only team to beat that Bishop Ryan squad this season. Second-ranked and unbeaten Aggies visiting Nedrose tonight. Redbirds going for it on 4th and 11 on the opening drive. Got to be able to score points against this Aggies team, but they're stopped. So Velva takes over on downs, and you know who's getting the ball? A former game ball winner. He won it a few weeks ago. Gage Florence taking it to the house. Touchdown Aggies. The second-ranked team in Class A just keeps chugging along. Velva wins it tonight, 42-14. The Aggies finish the year at Penmare next Saturday. Mohall-Lansford-Sherwood taking on Surrey in a critical region 3 9-man game. Mustangs score their first points on an 80-yard touchdown run by Coleman Nelson, with the Mavericks sniff out Caden Nelson's rush here to protect their 16-6 lead. To the 4th and long. Chris Jenner feels the heat, takes out running. He nearly gets to the sticks, but the Mavs take over from there. MLS looking to bleed away the remaining time in the game. Gannon Hall fumbles on the right side, but he recovers. He holds onto the ball, and Mohall-Lansford-Sherwood holds on for the victory, 16-6. They're one of 3 teams tied for first in Region 3, along with Ray Powers Lake and Central McLean being others. So a very tough region for the Mavericks. But guys, that is a wrap. Very few games played tonight, most of them on the western side of the state, if not all of them on the western portion of the state, because I step out the door out here at the office and it's a blizzard. It's a nightmare. It's incredible.
Well, congrats to you for getting all that together and getting through with your voice. But, man, the weather, everything.
Yeah, it's a mess.
You're
but
under the weather.
We'll touch on, coming up in zone coverage, we'll touch on the WDA standings, kind of get you caught up with what's going on there, and a big 9-man matchup coming up as well, Cavalier and New Rockford-Cheyenne. So we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Okay, thanks. We'll make you come back and talk a little bit more.
All right, I can't wait.
Thanks, Jody.
See ya.
All right, when we come back, we will get to the South Dakota highlights of the night. Harrisburg and Lincoln playing at Howard Wood Field. You got Washington and Brandon Valley tonight. South Dakota highlights next.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. Let's get to the South Dakota games of the night. And the games that did go on were some really good matchups between teams that are 5-1 taking on 5-1, 7-0 taking on 7-0. There were some
ranked
really good
teams
matchups.
playing ranked teams, and it really matters not as much for the quarterfinal round, but more for that home field advantage in the semifinal round. So looking ahead a couple weeks, Harrisburg needed a win like this to really show that maybe they could be a top 2 seed, top 3 seed. Now they're kind of teetering. We'll see how they finish out the season. They still have some tough games with Brandon Valley and Roosevelt coming up. Yeah, or they have had Roosevelt, but Brandon Valley coming up.
And O'Gorman.
Yes.
Harrisburg's only loss was at Howard Wood Field to Roosevelt by a score of 23-21. So it was Harrisburg and Lincoln tonight at Howard Wood. Both teams 5-1 in some flurries. And Jack Tigan to Ethan Rollinger. Rollinger had 5 catches on the night. Harrisburg out to a 7-0 lead. And then, good for those kids. Look at this hit by Aiden Sand. Comes from a Homme. Ends up in the hands of Isaac Sarbacher, who takes it back for the touchdown. I think officially that was a fumble, but either way, it's a 7-6 game. They missed the extra point. And then the Tigers, some punt trouble here. And they go all the way down to the 12-yard line, so Lincoln's got it there. And then Tommy Thompson with a touchdown to put the Patriots in the lead 12-7.
This was close throughout, and I knew it would come down to running the football, and that's something Leo Kay did tonight very well.
Yeah, he did. This is third quarter, by the way. Patriots go ahead 18-7, and then Tigan comes back, goes to Jai Rowert. They get the 2-point conversion as well, so it's 18-15 about midway through the, that's at the end of the third quarter. No scoring in the fourth. This is how Lincoln kind of ran it out, though. They had a long drive to run out the clock. Kay stays in bounds here. And, yeah, he did have a big night. as the Patriots put it away. Tommy Thompson, that's kind of the victory formation right there. 18-15 is the final, so the Patriots get to 6-1. Second loss of the year for the Tigers. And Harrisburg played without Anders Clayton tonight, their running back, and they had -4 yards rushing.
Well, and that was what the key to this game was. Going in, I asked both coaches what the key is. They said, we're going to have to win up front, and Lincoln barely did, but they won that battle up front.
Yeah, Leo K on the other side, 87 yards rushing. Patriots ran it for 148. And Lincoln, after the ball game, after the win, 18-15.
We just had to find it within ourselves because we felt we were playing like 75% during the game. And then at halftime, Jonathan Smith just yelled at us. He got us pumped, and we got the job done second half.
Really big for us to take care of a good team like that, and especially in terrible conditions in a close game like that, to be able to finish it out and, I don't know, put our foot in the ground and end the game and win.
So Sarbacher with the touchdown return. You really liked Lincoln's defensive line.
Well, their defensive line is so good, and Mitch Iacker, one of their best defensive linemen, I didn't see him out there tonight. I didn't hear the official word, but they've got so many guys up there with Alex Oppold and Jonathan Smith, and you saw Sarbacher and Iacker and Randall and all these guys that just keep coming at you. So kudos to that defensive line getting the job done. And Harrisburg, once again, comes to Howard Wood Field and puts on a great performance and comes up just short. Don't sell these Tigers just yet.
And they've got 2 tough games left. Harrisburg still has to play Brandon Valley and O'Gorman. Lincoln is 6-1 now, and the Patriots play Rapid City Stevens and Rapid City Central to round out the regular season.
They really have a shot at getting that home field advantage. And they can't look ahead too far, but in that semifinal round.
All right, let's go to our live game of the night, Jandy. It was Madison at home against West Central. And the snow on the turf there. Both these teams 3-3 coming in. Tyler Tappy to Mason Avery for a touchdown early for the Dogs.
Then watch out, 71. This guy was all over the field all night. Cody comes in and blocks the kick, gives them good field position. So going against the wind, which was a huge factor, they're able to score, but then they give it right back. So Trey Smith scores one, coming right back the other way.
Carson Whitrock with a pick 6 for West Central. And it was 14-6 at halftime. Madison in the lead. Trey Smith also the kicker. A field goal to make it 17-6 Bulldogs. And then Tappy, Carter Bergheim, the defender kind of went for the pick there, and Bergheim turns it into a touchdown. 25-6 Dogs. Cooper Morris with a touchdown late for West Central to make it 25-12, and that is the final. Madison in this game, I think, had 115 total yards in the game, had 12 yards rushing, and they still win.
Both of these teams were under 2 yards per play going into the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter actually had a few extra plays that went down the field, but man, defensive performance tonight. Cody Brown gets a big pat on the back for a couple block punts, a couple big plays. Their defensive backs came up with a huge interception or two. Every time West Central tried to get some momentum together, Madison was there to squash it.
Tough game every night in 11A, and West Central's got Del Rapids coming up. Bulldogs have Lennox coming up, and again, Lennox beat Dakota Valley tonight, so we'll see what Madison has for that one. Canton and Tri-Valley tonight. Both these teams 4-2 coming in. Canton has outscored teams 146-0 in the last 4 games. And they got another shutout tonight, and Caden Verley scored a bunch of touchdowns.
Caden Verley hasn't really had that huge game yet. He did tonight. This looks like Caden Verley from last year. He absolutely took over. I think he had 4 touchdowns on the night, didn't he?
An 18-yarder, a 32-yarder, goes 9 yards. He had a 8-yard touchdown run. I think that's the 32-yarder right there. But yeah, they just turned him loose, and he went nuts on the ground. Verley going the other way.
Well, we talk so much about how their defense has been so good, but to get a jolt of energy on offense like this from Caden Verley, who, he lined up at quarterback a lot of this first part. The only person that could tackle him tonight was the official. But Verley was lining up out of the backfield. He was lining up in different parts of the field. He wasn't always taking snaps, and I think that made him so much more comfortable. That's 5 shutouts in a row, Tom.
Yeah. And Verley, very efficient, 13 for 150 and the 4 touchdowns. So, yeah, Canton is rolling right now with 5 in a row. They take on Sioux Falls Christian next. Tri-Valley will go out of class and play Huron coming up next week. And let's hear from Caden Verley after the Canton win tonight.
We were running the ball very well. Our line was just controlling the line of scrimmage, so it was very easy for us to run the ball. Yeah, we watch a lot of film. We chop block, as every team knows, so we really disrupt their running game, and they're a good running team.
Yeah.
It was chilly. It was chilly out there in Vernon.
He wanted to get out of that interview. Thanks for sticking with us, Caden, for a couple more minutes. But, yeah, offensively, he exploded tonight.
So Canton is rolling now. That's close to 200 to nothing in the last 5 games.
Watch out for them. 11A is stacked, but watch out for Canton.
All right, in 9-man football tonight, Canastota Freeman in 9A taking on Bottom, the number 1 team in 9AA.
These are highlights courtesy of Brian Henson, but you saw Tice Ortman go crazy on that first run, and then Trey Ortman finds Logan Katz there. Here's a replay of that in the end zone. It was all Canastota Freeman tonight. Bottom had suffered quite a few injuries in this game. We'll have to clear out and get the full report of exactly how this all went down. Nate Szynski scored the 1 touchdown for Bonham, but Canastota, how about these guys all year quietly just killing it? They're averaging 284 yards per game on the ground, giving up less than 40. They were dominant.
The Pride is 7-0. Bonham finishes the regular season 7-1 now. They're off next week, but they're going to be in the playoffs. They're way ahead in their own region, but we'll see what they can do come playoff time.
You see where it says conference matchup for next week? There's 3 different conferences in 9-man football that are setting up kind of conference championship type of tournament for 1 week, and Corn Belt is one of those conferences that do that. So they will get their matchup here very shortly.
All right, Canastota Freeman making some noise in 9A as they get to 7-0 on the season. This was a big matchup in 9B. Del Rapids St. Mary's taking on Colman-Egan. Colman-Egan has been routing people in their first 6 games of the year. Some really good runners on both sides of the football. Colman-Egan's got Nate Tolley, and he scored a handful, literally, of touchdowns tonight. He had 5 of them. Tolley with an interception as well early on. Takes that inside the Del Rapids St. Mary's 5-yard line, and then Tolley scores again to make it 14-0.
I mean, this is a huge test for St. Mary, and they didn't get the luck going their way. You saw the tip interception before. They showed what they can do, though. They got the athletes.
Great catch by Weston Garrett's. Connor Libas to Garrett's there to make it 14-6, but then Colman-Egan just got to that lead. They stayed in the lead. Tolley with a touchdown. Libas comes back with a touchdown to make it 22-14. Tolley scored his 4th touchdown of the game to stretch the lead back to 30-14, and they just kept going back and forth. Libas went to Eli Longville to make it a 10-point game again, right here at 30-20.
Look at this scramble, one side to the other. He'll keep plays alive. And, you know, they stayed in this game because they kept grinding it out. They never got totally wiped out of this game, even though Colman-Egan had control.
Yeah, Colman-Egan went ahead. Libas again here to make it 38-26 late. But Nate Tolley had his 5th touchdown run to stretch it out at the end of this one. And Colman-Egan at home wins it 44-26. So the Hawks there get to 7-0. First loss of the year for Colman-Egan. Del Rapids St. Mary was scoring 51 points a game. Colman-Egan, though, has just been routing people, as we said.
Well, they're not even playing full games.
26.
Yeah, they've played, I think, 14 quarters or something before this game. Just been wiping teams out. So I think this is actually a good sign for the Cardinals that they were able to play with them. The score's a little deceiving here, and they might see each other again yet this year.
Yeah, most points Colman-Egan has given up by far all season, but the Hawks do come out on top, 44-26 tonight in a great matchup in 9B.
Here we got a little bonus coverage here, some courtesy video from KSFY. Lennox taking on Dakota Valley. First half, Josh Arnold hands off to Hayden Mendel. He gets it in the end zone. Dakota Valley comes next play, and it's Kobe June, one of their 4-headed running backs who can do big things, but he got stuffed. And he powers forward, gets every yard he can, but it wouldn't be enough here as the Lennox Orioles outlast Dakota Valley. And even though it was a team that's really not put together 2 good halves yet this year, Lennox was able to come out in the second half and shut down Dakota Valley.
Yeah, I'm not sure where Lennox stands as far as their region rankings and their playoff spot, but they do have to play at Madison coming up next week. The big win tonight for the Orioles as they knock off the number 3.
I mean, everybody's in it. There were 10 of 15 teams coming into the week in Class 11A that were 500 or better, and now Lennox moves up to 3 and 4 just outside that group. So anything could happen in that class.
All right, let's check in on Pierre, the top team in 11 AA. Pierre at 6-0, taking on Brookings that came in at 6-0 as well. And here's what you need to know about this game. Is Garrett Stout had 2 touchdown runs, 1 touchdown pass, and a kickoff return for a touchdown. McGuire Rasky for Pierre had 3 touchdown runs and also had a kickoff return for a touchdown. And the Governors roll 54-6. First loss for the Bobcats. But Rasky and Stout with another rout, and they're just killing people, and they take on Mitchell. Coming up next week, we'll have that game live here on Midco Sports Network.
Yeah, and they didn't want to throw the ball much tonight. They still completed 17 passes. Brookings, one of the toughest lines in the state, and Pierre won that battle up front. We'll talk to Steve Steele later in zone coverage.
Yeah, Carter Item with the lone touchdown there for Brookings, but Pierre rolls on. We'll hear from Stevie Steele coming up. Let's go back to 11 AAA. Brandon Valley at home taking on Sioux Falls, Washington.
Yeah, careful when you go against those linemen.
Real excited. There you go. Brandon Valley holds Washington to 3rd and 8 on the first drive. Matt Egan almost comes up with an interception here for the Warriors, and it would have been good for them if he had, because this is the same drive for Brandon Valley. And Thomas Skolton will give it off to Tate Johnson, who gets just enough for the touchdown here. It's 7-0 Blanding. 5 minutes into the game.
Brandon's had trouble at home this year against, competition like Aberdeen and Watertown. They really wanted to put this thing away early, and they did defensively. They showed up on the defensive side.
Yeah, they did kind of just steadily pull away. Pretty much links the rest of the night. They're 6 seconds into the second quarter. Skolton to Austin Vigance, wide open in the back of the end zone. 14-0. Lynx in the lead. And then just before the half, 22 seconds left before halftime, Skolton to Cole Cilliuson over the middle, and it's 21-0 at halftime.
Good to see Cole getting into the end zone. Didn't have Jackson Hilton tonight, so using all those receivers, Ty McCann, Cole Cilliuson, all these guys stepping up and giving Brandon a solid win against the Warriors.
Cilliuson did score again to make it 28-0. The Warriors did find the end zone in the fourth quarter, but just 7 on the board tonight for Sioux Falls, Washington, as they fall to 2-5, and Brandon Valley and Harrisburg is going to be a really good one coming up next week. All right, sir. What do you make of Sioux Falls Lincoln as the Patriots beat Harrisburg?
Oh, the most dominant team over the last month, and they keep rolling. They have figured it out on defense, and they are so fluid on offense. They're able to play the run game like they did tonight. They're able to throw if they have to, but they don't have to throw to win games, which just makes them so dangerous coming into this colder month.
All right, and again, those couple of games postponed. Roosevelt and Rapid City Central will play on Monday, actually, in Rapid City. Rapid City Stevens is going to be at Aberdeen Central on Saturday, Sturgis at Mitchell on Saturday to finish up the games from this weekend in South Dakota. When we come back, some zone coverage. We'll hear from the coaches. We'll go back to Jody, talk about what's going on for the playoffs in North Dakota.
Varsity Sports Live on Midco Sports Network is presented by Avera Orthopedics, South Dakota State University, and Farmers Union Insurance.
Welcome back. Let's get back to Jody Norstedt and hope that he can speak when we get to him. Jody.
Usually the issue is me forgetting to put my mic on. It's on.
That a boy.
This part just isn't working tonight.
Playing injured tonight. We're proud of you. All right, we saw the EDC, the Eastern teams. Fargo, Grand Forks did get most of their games in from the weekend. But what about out west? What's the story out there when it comes to the schedule and the standings with Bismarck and Mandan and Minot and those teams?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because Century moved its game against Jamestown to Monday. The Patriots are still going to play a game on Wednesday, too, against Dickinson. So they're going to play at Jamestown Monday at 5 o'clock, and then they're going to play Wednesday against Dickinson. And as it sits right now, that will be the plan. A lot of the other teams have shifted their games to Saturday, but for some reason, for scheduling conflicts, they have to do it that way as of right now. So the top-ranked team in the state playing 2 games in 3 days. But I still don't see Century losing because they are a lot better than everyone else in the state, and they are a lot better than that Dickinson team that is really struggling. But let's take a glance at the state, because we could see a lot of shifting going on soon. On Monday, Mandan plays at Legacy and Minot plays at Bismarck. The Sabres and Demons are tied for second right now, so the home teams are trying to hold off the 2 teams tied for that 4th and final playoff spot. Legacy, though, is probably the hottest team of the bunch. The Sabres have won 3 straight, including a 30-14 win over Bismarck. I think the Sabres are dangerous because they play really good defense lately, and they have a senior quarterback in Rhett Clements that is a playmaker, throwing some dimes out there on the field against South earlier this season. He's passed for nearly 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns while only being intercepted 3 times. That's key. He can bail the team out with his legs, too, and that is also key late in the year. That Legacy Mandan game is going to be very interesting on Monday. I feel like the winner of that game, I think they'll end up as the number 2 seed if they win that game. So here's how the East looks, though, after Thursday's game. 5 teams fighting for 4 playoff spots, and you definitely want to stay out of that 4th playoff spot because you want to avoid Bismarck Century, who's been the juggernaut this year. So it's going to be interesting. Davies is in the driver's seat. Wednesday will be fun, though, because the Eagles, you see there, they host Cheyenne, and Shanley visits West Fargo. So you have the 4 best teams all going head-to-head on Wednesday the 16th. That's next week. Keep in mind, West Fargo owns the tiebreaker over Fargo South should that end up being a factor. But right now, the focus is on Davies. The Eagles, as we saw, found a way to pull out the close win against West Fargo on Thursday, and head coach Jason Field just knows his team is in a pretty good spot entering the final 2 weeks of the regular season.
Puts us in a good position here now, and now we know the gravity of that game too, and our kids are excited because their chance of getting a conference championship is still alive, and so I think that's huge for them, and that's been our goal all along, and so it's going to be a heck of a challenge for us these next 2 games, but we're excited for them.
Yeah, because Davies has Cheyenne next, and then they close out with Shanley, which could be a massive showdown, and we'll have it live on Midco Sports Network. How cool is that? Well, let's take a look. Shanley has been kind of the big story all year. The Deacons have entered the 3A ring and haven't looked overmatched one bit. And they're ranked 3rd in state. And as you saw earlier, Troy Mattern's team, doesn't matter if they got to win pretty, win ugly. They went up in the snow and beat Red River to improve to 6-1 on the year. Let's hear from Matt.
We're figuring out in the EDC every game's a big win, because there's so much parity this year, and to get a win, whether it's at home or on the road, especially on the road, is huge. So to get a win this late in the season is big. We got a quick turnaround with West Fargo on Wednesday, so these kids got to get refocused back to work because, again, our goals are out in front of us, so a chance to win an EDC title. Unfortunately, we got to go through a really, really good West Fargo team, but our kids will be ready.
Now, do you remember who handed Shanley its only loss? That Fargo South team that kind of faded a little bit, but now has kind of regained some steam because they lost those back-to-back games against West Fargo and Davies, made some personnel changes. They ran the ball very well last night in that win over Fargo North. It looks like they're going to ride Enoch and Lehigh as that kind of 1-2 punch in the backfield. And Tyler Kozel is hoping that success on the ground will pay dividends as the year goes on.
Our seniors came out and led. They made a lot of big plays as the game went on, and moving up a day early, it was just not an opportunity to play football, and our kids were excited to play and get on the field. And we knew weather was going to play a factor, and we had a game plan where we wanted to run the football, and our guys up front and our backs did a pretty good job holding on to the ball as the game went on. Obviously, turnovers are going to be a factor in these games, but they didn't bite us too much, and we came out on top with the win. We knew all year we had to establish a run game. We have good backs, and we had some new guys up front, and they did a good job. Kept the chains moving, ate some time off the clock, and that's big moving forward because obviously when you get into October, November, you got to run the football. So that's huge for us going forward.
Now, before I send it back to you guys, I have to get in some small school love because I know a lot of those schools weren't featured on tonight's program just with all the postponements. We're supposed to have a battle between the two top teams in 9-man, but that has been moved to Tuesday. All the rest of the games pretty much in the state have been moved to Monday, but this one moved to Tuesday. Number 1 New Rockford-Cheyenne will visit number 2 Cavalier in a game that will also decide, you see the standings right there, it'll decide the Region 2 champion in 9-man, which will also get the top seed in the playoffs. Last year, the Rockets snapped a 5-game losing streak to the Tornadoes. We'll see if they can make it back-to-back. There'll be a ton of talent on the field, but this guy stands above the rest. UND commit Bo Belquist, so far this season, has rushed for 400 yards and 7 touchdowns, recorded nearly 500 receiving yards and 9 more touchdowns. He's returned a kickoff for a score, 2 punts for scores, and a pick 6. And I'm sitting here whining about a sore throat. Belquist has been a maniac. Look for him to shine again on Monday. Cavalier has a great receiver too, though, a D1 commit as well, and Bison commit Andre Courier. That's a game that I am looking forward to on Tuesday night at 7 o'clock up in Cavalier. That should be a lot of fun. And there, of course, will be a lot of games with playoff implications here as we go. 9-man in Class A down to their final 2 games, including some of the ones that will be played on Monday and Tuesday, and then finishing out the regular season a week from tomorrow.
I love how these season-ending matchups mean so much just for playoff, and to have 2 of the best teams in 9-man football going at it in the last week. That's just great.
State championship preview? Who knows? We'll see.
So you have games on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. That'll be kind of fun to have something to pay attention to.
Yeah, pretty much every day. We won't have games on Friday again. Well, we had some games tonight, but we won't have games on Friday. But we'll recap the madness that is happening and preview a couple of those games on Saturday on next week's show, which should be a lot of fun.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, thank you guys.
All right, let's get back to South Dakota here, Jandy. And Sioux Falls-Lincoln has been a really good story this year. 6-1 after their win over Harrisburg tonight.
Yeah, and they just keep on rolling, keep on winning big games. I mean, we thought the Washington game was big until they beat O'Gorman, and then we thought that was big until they beat Brandon Valley, and then they beat another one-loss team tonight. They just keep topping themselves, and they really believe that they can get this done. And Jared Fredenberg, after the game, talked to us a little bit about this rolling hot streak that they're on.
Winning ugly, I guess. You know, there's a lot of mistakes that we made, and of course a lot of mistakes that they made too. That's going to show up on film, and you know, we capitalize when we need to, and we got to stop with our defense when we need to, and the offense, you know, that last drive, I mean, they got the first downs that we needed to salt this away, and so we did it when we needed to do it, and it's just a matter of putting it together with 4 quarters.
Harrisburg has a way of making teams win ugly, though. I mean, that's the first time after a game they haven't been super elated and jubilated. I mean, they're working on the finer points. I think that's a good sign for this Lincoln team.
All right, let's talk about Canton in 11A in South Dakota. And these guys are on as much of a roll as anybody. Canton over Tri-Valley tonight, 49-0, 5 straight shutouts for the Canton defense.
Yeah, Rich Lundstrom told me earlier this week that they're starting to figure things out on defense, and that's making all the difference. They had a few changes, too, that they made, and whatever they're doing something right. Let's hear from Rich Lundstrom.
Oh, we had a good week of practice. Our scout team actually did a really good job running their stuff, and they were gashing us in practice. So we took notice, and the defense played really well, and I thought our offensive line blocked extremely well.
All right, Canton rolling 49-0 over Tri-Valley tonight, and 11A is our favorite class, I think, because there's so many good teams. And all right, Canton wins tonight. And another win in 9B. This was a great matchup. Del Rapids St. Mary was 6-0. Colman-Egan was 6-0 coming into this one. Colman-Egan behind 5 touchdowns from Nate Tolley tonight. Colman-Egan over Del Rapids St. Mary 44-26.
Yeah, and they have just kept adding a layer and focusing and playing. Really, one of their problems is they haven't played many full games. That was one thing Chad Williamson was worried about in this game. How would we hold up in the fourth quarter? But they did. They got it done. They kept pulling away from Del St. Mary. And after the game, we talked to Chad Williamson.
You know, we were fortunate enough to be able to run the ball pretty well. I feel our line played a very, very good, strong game, and was able to get get the blocks we needed, and our backs ran hard, and we were able to get yards we needed to. So I think running the ball and just doing our jobs, reading our keys on defense was what we need to do to win tonight.
All right, Colman-Egan 7-0 after their win over Del Rapids St. Mary tonight. And one more coach we need to get to, and that is Stevie Steele, who has done an amazing job with the Pierre Governors in the last couple of years. Back-to-back state championships.
We've had trouble getting to Pierre this year. Every time we want to go shoot highlights, something comes up. So we've streamed a few of their highlights, but we haven't really gotten our eyes on these guys. And I keep asking him, like, they've got to be a little bit complacent, right? They have to be. But here's what he said.
You know, and this is a team that's really locked in, and you know, it's really cliche to say that you're taking things one game at a time and one opponent at a time and doing everything one at a time, but that, you know, it's just how they do it. I mean, they do such a great job of focusing in on the task at hand and not looking ahead. You know, I said the fun part now is, I mean, you know, a lot of it is we're trying to be the best that we can be, whatever that is, you know, and if that's continuing to make sure we win every game by a lot, then that's what we've got to do. I mean, we've got to find ways to challenge ourselves, and, you know, I said we're trying to be very brutal and critically honest with ourselves in film, and, you know, just find every little thing that we can do better. And, you know, like I said, we played far from a perfect game tonight. You know, we've still got plenty of different things that we can, you know, continue to improve on in every asset of the game or facet of the game. So, I mean, we still got ways that we've got to continue to shore up. And, you know, like I said, the time that we don't do that is the time that we're not going to do it.
And this was their test. I mean, against Brookings was 6-0 coming into this game, 54-6 final. But Pierre's been scoring 50 and 60 and just taking care of people.
Now their biggest test is how well can they stay focused, because it looks like them and then the rest of the group down here. So they've still got a couple games to get through before they hit the playoffs. They got Mitchell next week live here on Midco Sports Network. You can get your eyes on them and see if you think that they're maybe one of the best teams in the state regardless of class.
All right, the Govs 7-0 after the win over Brookings tonight. When we come back, we'll get to the rundown. We'll take a peek at one big, huge play from each of the games we had here in the highlights tonight. Welcome back to Varsity Sports Live. Let's get to the rundown tonight. And this is our little hype video of one great play from all of the games that we got cameras to tonight. And here we go with Harrisburg and Lincoln. Tommy Thompson hammering that one in, and Lincoln gets the win.
Winning once again. And speaking of getting back on the winning track, Brandon Valley threw their way to a touchdown to Cole Siliuson right there, 28-7 win.
Canton behind Caden Verley. He does it offensively. They do it all defensively. 49-0 tonight over Tri-Valley on the road. Canastota Freeman knocks off previously unbeaten Bottom. Katzer with a touchdown grab there. Del Rapids St. Mary and Colman-Egan. Colman-Egan, 5 touchdowns from Tolly tonight to win at 44-26. Pierre Stout has 4 touchdowns. Rasky with 4 more, 54-6 over Brookings.
They keep doing it, Tom.
Madison, this is Carter Bergheim spinning away for a touchdown as the Dogs beat West Central 25-12. North Dakota final, Shanley over Red River on Thursday night.
Nice catch.
West Fargo Cheyenne keeps it rolling. They are 6-1 now after a win over Grand Forks Central.
That EDC is going to be really fun coming down the stretch. Games like this one too.
Fargo Davies behind Reed Hartness as they get to 6-1, 30-26 over West Fargo. South over North in the battle. Enoch and the boys on the ground as they win that one 14-6, and Fargo South is hanging in there as well at 5-2 in the big schools in North Dakota. Quick thoughts on the big classes in South Dakota. 11 3A. Who looking like your 4 semifinalists
Lincoln's
right now?
on fire. Roosevelt, though, we can't forget about that team. They have been the best all year long.
Brandon Valley, Harrisburg. Maybe those 4?
They're right there. Yeah, I think those 4.
11 AA. Pierre is unmatched right now.
I can't wait to see them play next week against Mitchell, just to see for my own eyes through a whole game how good this line is. It's all about the line up front, folks. Really good.
And our guys in 11A, Del Rapids is unbeaten right now. Madison and T.
Canton, watch out, Canton. Canton's on fire, and they've got a couple tough games coming down the stretch.
Lennox had a big win tonight. You never know what's going to happen in 11A. Again, as Jody said, in North Dakota, Bismarck Century is going to have 2 games in 3 days next week. They'll play on Monday.
I've never heard of that.
Wednesday. to get those games in at the
Good
end
for
of the
them.
regular
They get
season.
to play Dickinson in one of those games, though.
All right, college football here on Midco Sports Network on Saturday, 2:30 in Aberdeen. Northern State hosting Minnesota State Mankato. Should be interesting weather-wise, but we'll have it here at 2:30 on Saturday afternoon.
Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Jandy.